Most of the time, I'm the type of guy that screams in your face about, oh my god, Hawkeye episode 3 is upon us, guys. The new episode of The Bad Batch made me cry. Guys, I'm so nostalgic for the new cheap Diary of a Wimpy Kid cartoon. High School Musical, the series wasn't even that bad. The Turner and Hooch series is better than the original. Woo! That is not gonna be this video. This is going to be SJW outrage. They ruined our childhood. Everything about all of entertainment is, whoa! Disney's embarrassing pandering. No, if you want to watch that type of video, that is also not gonna be this video. But there is stuff that troubles me a bit. I'm not what they call a Disney shill, but you know what? I'm also incredibly excited for the future of Disney, and specifically Disney Plus. I'm also worried. We're nearing the end of the year, so I thought it would be interesting to look forward to 2022 specifically and talk about why I'm worried, what makes me think Disney is on a slippery slope. While I'm still trying to communicate to you, I enjoy Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and everything a lot. That is my starting off point, and I would love for these IP to have eternal life, you know? But will they? Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After a Disney Plus Watch, and I'm glad you're watching the channel that's all about Disney Plus movies and TV shows. Before I talk Disney Plus and my thoughts on the streaming platform moving forward, we have to stop and think about how the company is doing. We've all had some rough couple of years behind us, and if we're talking about the situation that's taking over the world right now, you could say that we're all in the same boat. Some of the problems Disney faces right now are release calendar shifts and production shutdowns, and I guess that's all on an even playing field if we look at all the different studios out there. Although it's probably fair that Disney has a bigger bag of money lying around for when things go wrong than a company like Lionsgate or MGM or whatever. You get the point. But yeah, this is very disorienting for everyone. All that is happening, it's a mess, and the bigger the company, the more it can take, I guess. But this situation must have a ripple effect on all levels of production and management. I mean, stress, impossible release dates, hotels that have to be cancelled because of the filming, you know, and stuff like that. Especially the whole Marvel Studios slate has been shifted around like 3 times. You know, remember that in 2020, we would have gotten Black Widow, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, and Eternals if I'm not mistaken. Things are constantly changing, and you feel the shift in management, and not only at Disney, but you can feel it. There's a change happening. But still, pretty sustainable, you would say, a company like Disney. Literally the biggest giant in entertainment, right? How would an empire like that crumble? Well, then we would have to look at public perception and controversies. By the way, hang on in there, I'm going to end this video on a very positive note, but I believe we also have to be honest here. On a personal note, to make sure to preface this topic properly, I might be a geeky enthusiast and a complete sucker for Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar, which are some of the biggest cornerstones of Disney IP. So, you know, that's why you hear me say I love Disney all the time. But to be completely frank, to say I love Disney is half of the story. I don't think highly about Disney as a company anymore. It's just too much shit that's going on. Yes, it's amazing what they accomplished and how they're bringing me joy every year, and I thank them for giving Star Wars new life. Really, you can say about the sequels what you want, but I thank them for Star Wars. Really, I thank them for a lot of things. But I believe that within the caves of the company that is Disney, so much dirt is waiting to get to the surface, and I really feel like the controversies around Disney will continue to pile up to a point where stuff we can't even imagine right now becomes public. To be perfectly honest, this is the age of truth and stuff getting exposed everywhere and on every front. The whole world is in a kind of mindset shift. A lot is happening, and you know it. A crisis brings out the worst and the best in people. But I believe that is also true for truths and lies. The lies get bigger and bigger, and the truths get more exposed as time goes on. I do believe that is a trend right now. Now, I'm gonna name as much examples as I can to support why I feel Disney is kind of in trouble right now, but do make sure not to click away when you hear like one point you don't agree with, because some things might be a bit controversial, and yeah, it's the sum of its parts that counts, not one story. And I'm going to touch on a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna go in depth with everything. But seriously, the Scarlett Johansson situation, where ScarJo struggled to defend her own contract when she discovered her paycheck would be much less now that Black Widow was scheduled to release in theaters and on Disney Plus with Premier Access, she claimed that she came like 50 million short. And Disney, and specifically Bob Chapek, handled the situation quite badly and actually slammed ScarJo at one point. It did get ugly, unnecessarily, I believe. I know the actress already has a lot of money in her pocket, that is a fair point maybe, but this was a question of a break of contract, and the way this whole thing was handled was just, in general, not a good look on Disney. Then we have the Mulan controversy. I don't know if you remember, the hashtag boycott Mulan thing. So apparently Disney has been shooting their movie and cooperating with China and shooting in areas where re-education camps were located. I personally agree with the idea that it is a really bad look, but I guess not that huge of a blunder, or it's not like Disney as a company is responsible for the atrocities in China. So and in general, we hear so much about underpaid staff. Yeah, we recently had the IATSE strike that at the last second got settled, which is ultimately a good thing, I think, as the workers did get a lot of demands satisfied. And I know this is about Hollywood in general, but remember, Disney is the biggest giant in Hollywood. And if we look at the Star Wars side of things, holy cow, I'm gonna be very short about it. This is already discussed all over YouTube for multiple years now. More Star Wars films and series were delayed and scrapped than have come out by now. The sequel trilogy was hugely divisive. The High Republic seems to be, at least in my perception, pretty politics driven, which is, by the way, a problem in general, I think. Like, I'm not really into the group that calls themselves the Fandom Menace, but I do understand where they're coming from. The marketing for Captain Marvel, for example, was one of the most politically activist stuff I've ever experienced coming out of Hollywood. Every time we read articles about this movie, it felt like this wasn't even about promoting a movie, but about a big protest or something. Star Wars Star Cruiser, for example, is the most recent thing that comes to mind that backfired incredibly for Disney, and it currently suffers from huge cancellations after that very weird commercial that felt completely fan-made Star Trek instead of Star Wars. Sorry, it was just weird. And Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, that was completely, it had a weird direction because it didn't have anything from the OT, and there was a lot of controversy around that. Of course, in the fandom, not really a big controversy in and of itself, it was more of a fandom thing. But even with the parks, sometimes there's just stuff coming out that where you think, well, is this really what we want? And I think this is the most controversial point that has come up in this video, but here it comes. Do we really believe it is ethically appropriate for a company like Disney to fire Gina Carano for a tweet? I know they can do whatever the hell they want in terms of hiring, but they had plans for her. Come on, Disney, you are way above this, I would say. They could have publicly stated that they don't support Gina Carano's view on the matter. I wouldn't have any problem with that. I'm not even voicing my opinion on the matter itself, but have that settled and move on. The group that will be offended by Gina Carano still being in The Mandalorian, I can assure you, would be way smaller than the group that is now offended by this uncomfortable firing of Gina. At least in my experience, this was not a good look. Oh, and I almost forgot, Emma Stone was also in kind of the same position as ScarJo, and that was also a situation where the movie Cruella being released with Premier Access, she considered bringing this to court, but then she didn't. And now there's going to be a sequel, so I guess that's back on track. But there's so much little pieces in this puzzle that makes, I don't want to repeat myself, talking about things back on track. There's a lot of stuff that I talk about here that is kind of back on track again, individual situations. But in terms of public perception and like a trend we're seeing, Disney's losing a lot of points really fast. We haven't even talked about November 2021 being the slowest growth of subscribers yet for Disney+. Although, yes, a lot of factors come into play, and the initial growth in 2020 was way bigger than expected, so maybe that's also a very big factor. But it does come with the Disney stock price plummeting. I mean, plummeting, it has seen a big decline, but I'm not in any way, shape, or form a financial expert, because to say how that comes into play, I shouldn't have brought it up. Okay, but really, it's another indicator that this company is not all bullish growth and everything is fine. The company is still spending a lot of money. Theater chains are still having a hard time to stay alive. Governments aren't always easy on us, the consumers, although streaming doesn't really suffer from that, I know, but the company does. Are the big tentpole $150 million budget movies from Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars still a are these things still a reality in 10 years? I mean, also remember that there is a huge recession waiting to happen. The money printing is going crazy right now, and the inflation keeps going up. When that settles, we don't really know, but maybe it's sooner than I expect, I don't know. But trying times are coming. How many millions can Disney take out of our wallets if we're were essentially poor. And of course, a big change. How can we not talk about this? Bob Chapek is now the Disney CEO since this year, since 2021, with Bob Iger still on the board of directors, but he's leaving on that post also. But Iger was still not making the big decisions, of course. It was all Chapek this year, and we all felt it. Or all Chapek, you know what I mean. He's the big guy now. I remember the story that he canceled his D23 visit really last minute. I'm not quite sure what it was. The official story is scheduling conflicts, but really, that's the go-to excuse when it comes to sudden changes. It's really the term of 2021 if we look at Disney. I haven't even touched on the darker stuff like sexual harassment cases and the real dirt, you know? Who knows what is still going on there? Sometimes Hollywood is a stinky hole, and once in a while it's good to remind ourselves of that. I'm just saying, if there is still way more shit waiting to get surfaced, I think Disney will not survive in the coming 10 years. I really believe that. And only if the trend continues and accelerates into a exponential growth of scandals, underpaid crew members. Another recent example is the creator of the Purple Arrow from the Hawkeye comics not getting any paycheck, controversial deals, rising prices, and more pandering to an activist minority group. By the way, I'm not saying that the objective of this group is inherently wrong, just the people that want this agenda in their entertainment is way underrepresented as far as I know. Then, if all that accelerates, I project bad things. But I'm not entirely pessimistic, because Marvel's killing it right now with Disney+. Phase 4 is shaping up to be the most exciting Marvel ever. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni's efforts are paying off on the streaming platform. There is a lot already in production and coming out next year. An Ice Age movie, Baymax, Zootopia Plus, Rescue Rangers, a Cars series, Willow, and not to mention if you look at Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Secret Invasion, and Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm forgetting about a lot. This is just the beginning if everything goes well. I am optimistic in terms of quality content and exciting new developments. I believe theme parks will probably keep doing fine if they correct the price for inflation so that people can still go in a few years. I'm pessimistic if I look at the company's status right now and all the controversy, so I'm finding myself exactly in the middle. Remember, this is just my opinion. I think I'm a realist. I do think Disney is ready for a few years of awesome legacy content, but that ultimately their hunger for politics and their greed will get the better of them, and I truly feel like we haven't even seen the start of all the dirt that will rise to the surface surrounding this company. Makes me think about the longer future of this channel. But well, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm just hyped for the book of Boba Fett in the end. Left for dead on the sands of Tatooine, I am Boba Fett. Okay, this is really bad for my voice. I shouldn't have started this. I'm thinking about wait up. Oh man. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious, how do you see this situation? Are you more optimistic or pessimistic? Do you feel like a lot of dirt is yet to be exposed? Or do you think I'm looking too much into it? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. Don't forget, if you enjoy the idea of discussing Disney Plus content with us, that red button looks familiar, right? Did you like this video? Did you find it interesting? Then be sure to consider giving that a click. Thanks. For now, have a wonderful day and of course wonderful holidays, and see ya.